I'm Tina Seelig, and I'm the Executive Director of the Stanford Technology Ventures Program, and I'm fortunate enough to teach classes on creativity and innovation and entrepreneurship. I have been involved with REE since 1999, which is the second year we started hosting conferences, and I, along with my colleague Tom Byers, are the co-hosts, along with our local hosts here. So my talk was about all the levers we have at our disposal to unlock our creativity. And I created a model called the Innovation Engine that shows the 6 factors that I think are really important in thinking about how to unleash creativity. The inside of the innovation has 3 parts: your knowledge, your imagination, and your attitude. And the outside of the innovation engine is the resources in your environment, your habitat, and the culture. And what I talk about is these factors, how you take advantage of each of them, and how they influence each other. Yeah, one of the videos I show, actually I got from some friends and colleagues at IDEO, the design firm. It's a prototype. It shows a prototype they were creating for a game, and it's really raw. It basically could be put together in 5 minutes, and it really demonstrates how effectively you can create a prototype even when you have very limited time and limited resources. And it reminds us that we shouldn't spend so much time on developing ideas before we show them to others, because once we show them to other people, that's when we get some really interesting feedback, which has to then influence the type of things we're doing. There are lots of things that educators can do to infuse creativity into their classes. One is just thinking about the types of questions that they ask their students. Instead of asking closed-ended questions that have one right answer, to think about asking open-ended questions that don't have a right answer, because it really encourages the students to then think more broadly, to come up with their own ideas, and to see the variety of types of solutions that their classmates can come up with.
You talked about culture yesterday. And you said something about culture being like background music. Can you tell more about that?
Yes. I love that metaphor, the idea that culture in any organization, whether it's a family or a multinational company, is really like the background music. I mean, think about how the background music affects how you feel when you're watching a movie. I mean, essentially it's a major character in the film. And if you've ever seen a film from a dramatic movie and they've taken the soundtrack away, well, it's completely different. And so you have to think of culture like the background music and be very thoughtful about creating that culture, because that ends up influencing the way people feel, the way they think, the way they act. There are lots of things you can do. First of all, and most important, you have to think about who's going to be in the room. Your hiring practices are a huge variable when you set the culture. Who is going to fit, and what new people you might want to add who are going to change the way the culture evolves. You also want to think about the rules, the rewards, the constraints, the incentives. All of these things dramatically affect the way people behave and the way they feel. Well, all learning really does come from failure. It really actually comes from trial and error. Think about it. We all learn to walk, to talk, to interact with others by trying things and seeing what works. And it's really crazy to me that we expect adults to do things that are really complicated correctly the first time. We need to really look at failure as a very important part of the learning process. But I actually have a new insight, which I actually discuss in my new book, Ingenious. And I think about the fact that we shouldn't use the word failure at all. I'm a scientist, and as a scientist, I do experiments, and if they don't turn out as I expected, they're not failures, they're data. And if we start looking at the results of the things we do as data instead of failures or successes, all of a sudden we have a very different way of framing the results. One of the most powerful questions you can ask is just why. Because by asking why, you really push the limits. Well, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And it also allows you to reframe the problem. One of the examples I give in my last book is that if I ask you to go build a bridge for me, you can go off and build the bridge. Or you can say, Tina, why do you need a bridge? Well, if I say, well, gee, I've got to get to the other side of the river. How many different ways are there to get to the other side of the river? An infinite number, right? A bridge is only one of so many possibilities. I could have a tunnel, I could have a hot air balloon, I could have a bicycle, I could swim. So the fact is, by just asking me why, you've opened up the frame of possibilities. So why, I think, is the most powerful question you can ask. The conference has been amazing. I would say this is one of the best REE conferences we have ever had. And here's why. First of all, we had an incredibly interesting and diverse group of people here from across Finland, from across Europe, from around the world. They all bring their different energy, different points of view, different challenges they're facing, different contexts that they share. And so we all walk out learning from each other, learning really different things. So we all come with different things that we need to learn, and there's always someone in the room who has the answer. There are always new themes, and this is because we're always in a different location. And so because the context changes, we end up with a very different flavor. The flavor in Finland is different from the flavor in Thailand. I think that's the last conference I went to. Completely different. And so I walk out here with a much better understanding of the local context, as well as understanding how the local challenges have been addressed. Well, the thing that was most powerful for me about this conference, beyond anything in the programming, was the fact that the students ran the conference. This has never happened before. The students here at Aalto University are totally remarkable. I have told them all I want to adopt them all. They're incredible, and the quality of what they've delivered was stellar. So that's what I walk away with, is how amazing the students are. I often tell people when I go to different parts of the world that they underestimate their students, and they need to empower the students, because the students are adults, and give them the opportunity to take on challenges, and they'll always blow your mind with what they deliver. My personal favorite also echoes Tom's. I was really delighted to finally meet Ferdinando. He and I had been communicating by email for the last few months, and to see his presentation about magic. I have always been fascinated by magic, and I realized that magic is not just something that happens on a stage in a very controlled environment, that we all can create magical experiences all the time, and we can do this for our friends, for our colleagues, and certainly for our students. And so I take back the idea that my role as an educator is to create awe-inspiring, magical experiences that transform my students.